He looks over his notes. He waits for his special guest to come in. And his special guest is a man. This man has been in 16 Broadway shows. And his name is Chuck Cooper. Hey! He's driving!
What's up? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Y'all see me?
Yeah!
We can see you
All
just
right.
fine.
What's up?
How are you doing? Where are you going right now?
I am on the road. We got a little bit behind. We had to stop off at Costco. It was a little longer than we thought. But we are on the road headed up to our little cabin on Lower Mount Glen Lake in West Milford, New Jersey.
Ooh. It looks like it's beautiful outside.
It's happening. Here, check it out.
Oh, wow.
Hey!
Look at the green.
Well, look, made it back from Costco.
In one piece.
How was it in Costco?
It was not bad. We
That's
got right in. There was no line, and it was a little picked over.
Especially after the holiday, I could imagine.
Yeah, number of items that we had hoped to get that were gone.
Yikes.
But we managed to get the cracked chicken.
Okay.
Hey!
Got the cracked chicken, which was, the very most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had the Costco roasted chicken?
No, I'm more of a Sam's Club type of gal.
We call it cracked chicken because that shit is good.
This is exactly why I want people like you to come on, because the people that I talk to who have been in this industry for so long, you feel there's such an impasse sometimes when we're early on in our careers. We're not equity yet. We are creating our own spaces to create the work we want.
Yeah.
And when we could talk to people like you who are just going to get real about crack chicken from Costco, like that is when humanity is at its finest.
That's funny. That's funny. Wow. So tell me about y'all. Like, young lady, do I know you?
No, I'm just a regular girl from White Plains, New York. Keith and I, we're both actors at the Flea Theater, but we've known each other from years and years and years ago. I used to be a stage manager on a show that he performed in. Currently, right now, I am still submitting for like anything that I can do right now, literally anything. And I also started Online Theater Company, which is a weekly new play reading series that a friend and I, we do over Zoom and Facebook Live, and we just get new plays, we read it with a group of people, and then we chat with the playwright afterwards.
Oh, cool.
And I am an actor and now podcaster, I suppose. And I've been wanting to sort of create my own space where I can talk to people who I vibe with and also read plays that I care about and elevate the voices of my friends who wouldn't be talking to people like yourself. And as it's progressed, I've just learned so much about how important it is to speak up and to create a voice for yourself in a time like this, because there's so many voices now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, y'all are doing what folks have been doing for a long time before you and before me, and that is making a way out of no way.
You have to. Absolutely have
There's
to.
got to be some way.
Yep, right. And it sounds like you're doing it so inventive and clever. The things that I'm hearing you talk about, things that would not have occurred to me. Of course, when I started, there were no computers.
Yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you about, because you got your equity card the week after you graduated college. Do you know how angry I was when I heard that?
He's
Don't tell too many people. They come for me. Okay. Yeah, it's true, man. I got a job 2 or 3 days after I was here. It was a non-equity job, a voiceover for a puppet show that a young dancer lady named Nancy Anderson was doing. And then one of my upperclassmen from Ohio University, where I went to school, recommended me for this audition for Performing Arts Repertory Theater, and I got the gig, got my card.
And that's TheaterWorks now, right?
Yes, that's TheaterWorks USA.
TheaterWorks is so competitive now. You'd be so surprised, man. The people that I see going in for Click Clack Moo, me myself.
As a coveted gig. I mean, you're talking about health coverage, you're talking about pension payments, you're talking about a salary, and it may be the bottom of the totem pole, but it's on the totem pole. Anytime you can get somebody to pay you to play Let's Pretend, you are doing something.
You talked about learning to accept falling on your face, and you didn't really embrace it. So I wanted to ask you about a time where you fell flat on your face and you had to pick yourself up.
A time? How can I pick? There was so many. It was my first national tour. My first national tour of UB. I was covering half of Gregory Hines' track because I can't dance. So I did the sort of the singing part of his track, and someone else did the dancing part of his track because Gregory Hines will not ever be replaced. This is my first production contract, my first big job. Got it from an open call. I'm singing this song called Low Down Blues. And I had never really sung the blues before. To get the job, I listened to Gregory and just parroted all of his licks, because I didn't really know how to do a lick. So my dear friend Terry Burrell said to me one day, what are you doing? Why you're just doing Gregory's licks? Why don't you sing the song? Now we're in performance now, right? And so I started to experiment song in performance. And sometimes it didn't go well. That's
Wow.
putting it mildly. I had failed so many times at this song. I was getting discouraged in that. I was in the green room. It was like a 2-show day. I was taking a nap in the green room of whatever city we were in. The way it was situated in this green room, I was laying on this couch, and the couch had its back to the other part of the room, right? So you could be laying on the couch as I was, kind of dozing, and people could be in the room and they couldn't see you, right? So people came in the room and they were talking about how fucked up my number was, how it really sucked. And I'm laying there on the couch listening, and this was the conductor and another cast member. And I remember lying there thinking, they think I can't do this. Although it is something that I've not done before, I can figure this out. And instead of letting that destroy me, I think it kind of infuriated me and fueled me. And so I just spent all day thinking of that song, listening to the blues, listening to licks, copying licks, learning pentatonic scale, dissecting the narrative of what the story was I was telling, because I wasn't really telling story, which every song is a story, right? I had a newfound focus and a newfound energy to prove to them that I could do it. Not only could I do it, I could do it pretty damn good. I worked on it. I worked on it some more, and eventually I got to a place where I was comfortable enough to just go out there and just let it happen. And my friend Terry said, just chill out, put your hands in your pocket, just chill out, and just do it. You can do it. And she had faith in me. That also helped. And she didn't know me at that. We met on that tour.
Yeah.
And she was, in my corner, and I finally got it. I got it, and that was, whew, that was a rough one, but I got through it.
I can't tell you how many times I've felt that way and still feel that way all the time because I'm going in front of people and articulating myself when all I've known all my life is to read lines and have an opinion about it. But
Mhm.
you have to go above and beyond just articulating your opinions. You have to challenge every aspect of your boundaries. And
Right.
I feel like to hear you say that is crazy because you are a person in that community that people can rely on in a show. You know, you will go up there and you will play that patriarch in that Shakespeare play, or you'll play that headmaster in Choir Boy. And it just astounds me to hear that even you had to overcome that, but it doesn't surprise me, you know,
Oh
that
yeah. If you're not struggling, you're not having any where there's no struggle, there can be no progress. If you're not, or the other one, is if you're coasting, you're going downhill. you know.
it's because you've had such a long career. There's a website, I don't know if you know about it, it's called abouttheartist.com. And I was able to see all the credits you've done in theater in a way that IMDb has, but it's not just for Broadway, right? So
Oh,
I got to see work you did from like 83 with the Negro Ensemble Company at
oh
the
wow.
Cherry Lane.
Oh my
And
God.
I got to see all the work you did at Playwrights Horizons. And
Mm,
there's a relationship you had with Harold Perrineau, who's an actor that you've worked with multiple
mm,
times. You worked with him in Avenue X at Playwrights, and then you worked with him in the first thing I saw you in, The Cherry Orchard, which I saw when I
oh,
was in college. I
oh wow.
called I called in sick for a job I just got. It was because I won the lotto for it. I was like, oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah. And we were doing Chekhov that semester, right?
Oh,
So
oh.
it was very informative. But I wonder if you could talk about your experience.
Unfortunately, let's say that I was mm, less than artistically fulfilled with that production of Cherry Orchard. Chekhov is special in that you have to really understand the play. And I question how well that play was understood by the creative team.
I agree with you. And I didn't want to voice that because whenever you work with people and, you know, like we don't know, we don't know you. So I'm not going to go out and say that.
That
But
really sucked.
yeah, they had a lot of image. It was very imagery driven
Well,
as a
you
production.
put the stage was set on the stump
The
of the
stump.
cherry orchard tree.
Mhm.
Like, why have a play? We already know the orchard's gonna go.
It's
Not
like
really.
those big Italian productions by people like Castellucci, who's a set designer, and he designs like the eye in this classical production of Oedipus, and like
Oh
it,
my gosh.
and it's slowly bleeding, and it's like, okay, man, yeah, we got you.
We get it.
What do you think it takes to successfully adapt classical text?
First, you need a good translation. And then you need someone who is not trying to pee on the tree. And by that I mean someone who has decided that they're going to do the penultimate production because they have the concept that really just busted wide open. I just think you need to tell the truth of what you tried to do with the playwright wrote,
Yeah.
and really try to do that. And that will be quite enough, especially with Mr. Chekhov. He
Mhm.
doesn't need any help. Mr. Shakespeare doesn't need any help. Mr. Wilson doesn't need any help. They don't just do what's on the page because they worked really hard. I live with a playwright, and I know what playwrights go through to put it on the page so that you
Absolutely.
can, in fact, glean what it is they want.
Katora,
So
you spent some time studying Shakespeare. I constantly, that's something I still wrestle with, and
Yeah,
something I'm gonna wrestle with for the rest of my life.
Shakespeare and also Chekhov. I did a month in London with Bada 2 years ago, and
wow,
we
awesome.
split. It was great. We split the semester between Shakespeare and Chekhov. And while learning Chekhov, when you were talking about your experience with it, I found that I felt like I couldn't do it justice while doing the scenes, and just because I really wasn't understanding it.
Hmm.
And I would be very, very frustrated with myself because I was trying to put on this facade like I did know the words, but I really just didn't understand it.
Hmm.
And it was very disheartening because I would love to see myself in a Chekhov play one day, because I do admire his use with text, but also the fact that I just couldn't translate it with like my body and my voice and whatnot,
Hmm.
like the way that I could do Shakespeare. It was just like, okay, maybe I need to spend like a little bit more time with this
Yeah,
before I really do anything with it.
I too would like another shot at Chekhov because we missed it by a mile on that one that we did. So
Yeah.
I would like to try it again too.
Yeah, and you know what? I tend to see that it's voices like yours that when I hear classical text through, that makes sense because you're not trying, you can, your training is armor that you can take off anytime. You know
Mm,
what I mean?
mm.
The more armor you shed, it's clear to see what's really there.
The more of yourself the more of your stuff you can get out of the way, the more you can just be.
Yeah.
And most the hardest thing sometimes is to do nothing.
Mm,
Yeah.
it's so hard.
I'm
Because
I'm
your mind, you're like, I'm on stage, I have to be doing something.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes people don't do something.
yeah.
Sometimes people are just, listening.
I
Listening.
learned that from like Mark Ruffalo, Philip Seymour Hoffman, the Francis
Oh,
O'Gormans of the
Mhm.
world, even, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Giancarlo Esposito
oh my
is a
God, that
great
brother's so bad.
example of
Woo.
people like that. Mark Rylance, all
Oh,
those people who just, you stand there and you watch and you just see them. I remember, I don't know if you saw Bridge of Spies, but Mark
mm,
Rylance's painting at the beginning of it, that's what he won his Oscar for, and he just sort of smiles and you see his face and everything, and you're just like, oh, this man is an artisan, and
mhm.
he is simply the man in front of him and nothing more, and that sort of carries.
Because you've had such a full career and that you've done all of these characters, if there was still any work that you're really aching to get your hands on, or if there was just something that you have on your wish list.
Yeah, I really want to do a Lear.
Mm.
I really want to do a Lear, and I and I want my daughter to play Reagan. I wouldn't mind a stab at a Troy Maxon, but I'm getting a little long in the tooth for that. There's a bunch of stuff in the Wilson canon that I would like to take a stab at. One of my big fantasies is to do a really good Western movie.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Really good Western movie like Silverado or The Cowboys. Did you ever see The Cowboys with now, I'm not a John Wayne fan, but it was John Wayne and Roscoe Lee Brown and Bruce Dern.
Whoa, self-restraint.
Great movie. I mean, just a solid, great movie. Forget the genre that it's a cowboy movie, but it's just a great movie. Or
Yeah.
Silverado, even, or I don't know. There's something about that genre of the West, and there's so many stories about us. When I say
Absolutely.
us, that are completely untold. The West was not all white. The West was not. The
But
West
a
was.
majority of what we see is
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. Yeah,
I
you're
mean,
absolutely right.
Or Tarantino, who
yeah.
tries to help.
Oh, fuck him. I can't. I can't with that guy. Forget him. I mean, Buffalo Soldiers and this oh my God, there's so many great stories in that genre that I would love to do. But in the theater, those are the only things that I could think of that I would, somebody could make me leave the lake.
Because I know it's nice out there.
Here, I just give you a peek.
Yay.
Oh yes. Oh.
Oh, it's
Oh
beautiful.
shit, man. Wow.
Oh, it's stunning.
What a view.
How long have you been out there for?
We bought it about 2 years ago. Year and a half. My wife says.
Wow.
Year and a half ago, December. And this will be our second summer here.
Wow.
That's stunning.
Look at that.
I just in December got my pensions. I am now a pensioner.
Yeah,
So I don't have to work anymore.
Ooh.
And it's a really beautiful thing.
man. Does that change the people you decide to work with?
Tremendously. I don't have to, so I can pick and choose.
What was the last audition you went on?
I have auditioned for TV things.
Mhm.
That would probably have been, I did a guest star on something called Bluff City Law, and before that I auditioned for something called Little Voice, which I got, and I think that's going to start next week sometime. It's
I had
Apple
two
TV.
auditions for Little Voice. That's the Sarah Bareilles show, right?
Right.
Yeah. I went in for the autistic brother, and then the guy
Oh,
who's like
Louis,
the manager. Yeah,
that was my son. I play
oh,
his father.
hey,
Oh!
right on. In
Yeah.
a perfect world. But
Were you
no,
working on anything before this whole craziness happened that just put everything on hold?
No, I did not have anything slated. I was in between engagements, as it were,
Mm-hmm.
when it all jumped off.
when you become old enough to earn those roles,
Hmm.
literally and like pounding the pavement wise, there is so much reward to sort of creating work all over the country. And I'm curious if you could speak a little bit to that about August Wilson.
Oh my gosh! Let me first say that his gift to the American theater is epic, is huge, because he made a pathway, a doorway for great roles for Black actors that will last forever. He made a canon that you will draw on for your whole career.
Mm-hmm.
They're so good with the women, but there are some awesome women roles. There are far more men than women, but the women roles that he wrote were killer roles.
Oh yeah, great speeches too.
Great. Oh, the speeches, the arias
Well,
is what they are.
mm-hmm.
Because his poetry is so musical, and I like it. He is the playwright that when I'm doing him, I feel the same way I felt when doing Shakespeare, because the narrative rides on this cushion of exquisite words where every syllable
Yeah.
is vitally important.
Absolutely.
A lot of times young actors will add or ad lib, or I mean anyone can mess up and stubble or whatever, but with Shakespeare and Wilson, that no, don't do it.
When I was learning August Wilson in college, it was, you could not. If you missed a comma or you missed a beat or anything, you had to start over or get out of class because you're not doing the work.
Right. Well, that's just the way it is. I will never forget. First time I heard August Wilson, I'd gone to see Fences at James Earl Jones's Fences with Mary Alice, and the curtain comes up and he starts talking, and I'm like, wait, I've never heard that voice on a Broadway stage. And I know that voice. That's my daddy. That's my uncle. That's my. I intimately know those people. And I was like, who was this motherfucker that got this up on the stage? It was just like, whoa, what is going on?
That moment of just like seeing yourself for the first time represented. There's nothing that beats that when you're too young to know, because now like Katora and I, we're young, but we're also intellectual about what we see and we take in now, because we're so self-aware. We do it all the time.
Yeah. Well, you guys, your generation has such a flood of info and stuff. I mean, gosh, I don't know. It's like you're standing under Niagara Falls of information and inputs.
Yeah, but there's value to information at the same time. I was just listening to, I never thought I would say these words. I was just listening to a podcast that Kevin Hart was on, and he talks about taking the mistakes that he made and all the knowledge that he gained and giving it to the kids that he grew up with. And he's doing a program with JP Morgan to do that. And they were like, well, we want to send a businessman to talk to them about it. He's like, you cannot send a businessman. You need to send them somebody who actually sees currency the way that they do. That's the only way. You have to start building a community from within the community.
Artists need to know how to handle money. You need to know how the game is played, especially you guys, because it's so complex now and it's so easy to usurp the artist. And so you really have to be mindful of your worth. And in order to accurately assess that, you need to know the whole machine so that you can make a very good guess about what your worth is, and not price yourself out, but not leave money on the table. One minute you got a comma in your paycheck, and the next minute you can't get unemployment. And there's both the mechanics of money, and then there's the mechanics of how you manage your emotional life and your spiritual life and your where you find your peace, how you navigate through that.
Yes.
It's like when I sometimes I coach people about singing, and I tell them it's like a train track. And there are two rails. And one rail is the technical rail. And that is the rail that you count beats, or you count the measures, or you note that the chair is over there and you have to get around the chair to get from A to B. Okay, it's very technical. Then the other rail is the emotional rail, or the spiritual rail, the rail that deals in the realm of feeling and sensory, what it is you see, smell, taste, hear, touch. What do you feel? What do you need to say? What's blocking you? And so navigating those two rails is how we get down the road.
Hell yeah. Katora, by the way, loves your voice. She was fangirling about it before.
Before we started this, I was on your YouTube channel and I was watching videos of you singing. Absolutely stunning. And I watched your performance of the bus aria.
Oh my God.
From Caroline Archain. And it was absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So I'm really curious as to like how you do what you do to prep your voice, like what vocal warm-ups you do. How do you keep your instrument like strong and sturdy?
The way to sing is to sing.
Thank you, man. There's so many
That-
different voices about like how you should sound in musical theater.
It's a
Like,
great hat to wear if you can wear it.
yeah,
And everyone can wear it. You know, the thing I really can't stand is when actors tell me, "Oh, I can't sing." That's ridiculous. And
everyone can sing. If Bob Dylan can sing, then everybody can
if
sing.
Janis Joplin can sing, you can sing. If Louis Armstrong can sing, you can sing. If
Daphne
Joe
Rubin.
Cocker can sing, you can sing. And
Mhm.
on and on and on. All singing is being comfortable about what it is you have to say that transcends speech and needs to be sung.
Absolutely, man. And I want to talk to you about Caroline or Change. We're gonna get back to the Tony that you won that one time,
Mhm.
because that's a wild thing. We'll get back to that. But talk about the process. Was that the first time you worked with George C. Wolfe on Caroline or Change?
Yeah, that was the first time I got connected to the project. Somehow, Tony Kushner
Mhm.
requested me to do the way back, the initial reading of it before Mr. Sori was attached to the piece, and he just and it was very different from what it wound up being, as many plays are. He was going to do a reading of it at the public for George, and so it was kind of a command performance for George Wolfe. You know, George literally he was the only one. It was one of those theaters upstairs in the public, and we all stood on the stage and benches and whatnot. And I think Anne Duquesne did the part of Caroline, and we were asked. This is so funny. They asked us to improv singing the dialogue that we had because there was no music that was written to it. And I remember Aunt Duke says to me, "Child, remember what you did because they will steal your stuff."
What a gift to be able to do that with a playwright like Tony Kushner, to just improvise your own
And
melody.
just play.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. It
How
was
much
kind
of that stuck? Any of it, or?
very little of it because um, as it happened, Janine Tesori came on board, and she didn't need no help writing music. Okay, she didn't need no help with musical themes or narrative or any of that,
Right.
any of the genres that she's so facile and brilliant at. When she came on board, then that's when it kind of became itself. Before it was in Tony's head. He knew what he wanted, but he knew he needed the input of George and Janine to
Yeah.
put to fruition.
And you see George's input in this. That's why I asked
Oh yeah,
about
George
George,
is all
right?
over this. Yeah,
Because George is a person who's chosen projects that really change people's perceptions of what they thought America looks like. And
yes,
he had no choice to leave your ego, your arrogance at the door, because you look at the normal heart, you look at bringing the music, bringing the funk, the Color
Mhm.
Museum, you look at Angels in America, and you could very
Mhm.
clearly see that what we're doing is a lot more than just your standard
Yeah,
white patron play
yeah,
that you can just go see. We're creating more than just like opera. It is almost operatic in a way when
Mhm.
he's involved.
it's an
Feels like
operetta at the very least. It definitely transcends the traditional musical, if you will.
it. I love his voice as an artist. It's just very validating when you can see people that are going to continue to challenge. And he's clearly inspired like A Strange Loop. I
Yeah.
feel like people like George C. Wolfe set the foundation for people and artists like Michael R. Jackson
Mm,
to continue to create work that challenges the institution that breeds you.
yep,
You know?
absolutely. Couldn't say
And
it better.
thanks, man. And I wanted to ask you about your Tony, man, because you had a pretty crazy Tony experience. You won it for Life.
I think I covered in Passion. I covered in Someone Who Watch Over Me.
And then you originally took over that role that you
Right,
understudied,
right,
right?
Right. I took over that role, and there were a couple of things that kind of led up to the life.
Yes. And Roseanne Barr handed you your Tony. That's crazy, man. That's wild.
What was going through your head? Because there was like so much joy. There was so much joy. What were you like? What were you thinking during your speech?
It was an out of body experience. You know, do you remember the movie Star Wars? You guys see that movie Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So remember when the Millennium Falcon switches to light speed and all the stars go. Like, that's what it was. It was like Chuck Cooper. And it felt like everything was now in slow motion. And I won a two.
I'm bringing my kids to see her on Friday. Whoa! Oh my God, look at this, look at this. If I'm shining now, and I am, it is by the grace of God and the love and light of so many of my friends. This celebration of the theater is a dream come true, and I share it not only with my wonderful nominees, Joel and Sam and Andre, but with all the wonderful actors I've known over the years and whose talent and tenacity and dreams have helped to spur me on and keep me keeping on.
It was like that, and it was that and super fast all at the same time.
And your son was right next to you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, my Eddie boy was right there. It's cool. That's really cool. And my father was up in the balcony. My father was an actor too. My father acted Karamu in Cleveland, Ohio, in community theater. First show I ever saw was an all-black production of Oklahoma.
Ooh.
Wow. What does it mean to continue that legacy of like creating thespians, breeding a new generation of thespians that have their own journeys?
Well, I don't know how much I'm doing that. I guess my two of my three children have chosen this path, much to my amazement. Not because of anything other than the fact that people always ask me, "Aren't you like freaked out that your kids are in show business?" And I'm like, "No, they were there for all the stuff. Okay, they were there for the limousine rides and when I was doing the life, and they were there for the eviction notices when I was busted. They were there for the sitting in rehearsal with Stephen Sondheim, and they were there for the beans and rice. They were there when no, you can't go to camp because Daddy is." They were there for all of that stuff, and so they know it in an intimate way that most folks don't know it.
Absolutely.
And plus they're really talented.
They're ridiculously talented. It's like it must be embarrassing to hear her voice and know that isn't your voice, but for real. Like,
well, I can't. While I would love to take full credit for it, I can only take half credit for it because her mother, who is not an actress, we married when we were very young. We're divorced now, but her mother is one of the finest actresses I've ever known, and her mother had a beautiful voice. But the business is rough on women. Business is rough. It's rough, period. But it's really rough on women. It's like that John Lennon song, "Woman is the nigger of the world." I mean, it's rough. And Lily gets it from both sides. Strong, hard. Right? I'd love to take credit for it all, but I can't. I give it up to her mama.
Was there anything that you saw in like your kids going through their artistic career that that maybe you had to give them a little bit more advice of, maybe something that they weren't necessarily used to or they weren't expecting?
I stay out of the way until they ask me. I don't intercede. I try only to be as helpful as I can when they seek out that help from me, and they do. Be it a negotiation question, or maybe some occasionally Lily has asked me to coach her on something, or Eddie will ask me, but I don't. I'm kind of a hands off on that. I think it's best that they learn how to make their own decisions and deal with their own successes and failures
Mm.
without me sticking my nose in.
And you could tell that you've given them that space because they shine in such unique ways as artists. And Lily has made a career for herself at like what, 16 doing Spring Awakening?
Yes,
That's
she was
wild.
she was in high school. Kept a 4-point average when she was in high school.
Ah,
That's not fair, man. She's smart too.
jeez. What was
Yeah.
I
On
doing?
top of all this.
Yeah, she's bad. She's something else, boy. I go, wow.
That's
Maybe I probably should be giving more than half credit to her mama because she can't be getting that from me.
man, that's amazing. We're gonna wrap up soon, but what I wanted to really ask you is how has theater changed since you got to New York? Talk about the evolution of theater since you started. What couldn't we do that we couldn't do then?
There's a lot in that question. There's a lot in that question. In some ways, it is more diverse. When I started out, there wouldn't have been any black people on Broadway doing Shakespeare. There might not have been any black people on Broadway doing Shakespeare when I started. Way back in late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
So there is the diversity issue. I think uh, women have made inroads into directing and writing, and I say that because there was none, and now there's a little bit. And even behind the scenes, even in IATSE, there are black people and women that were not there before. I think the business is more guarded now in terms of risk, in terms of uh, taking chances on new work, especially in the commercial theater, because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And so they tend to regurgitate,
Mm-hmm.
my estimation, or copy and mimic. The money has changed tremendously, and oddly enough, on Broadway, I hit my peak of money making shortly after I won my Tony. I won my Tony, my quote went up a little bit, and then it steadily went down because it really became the star fuckery. The put somebody from TV on there, put somebody from the movies up there, and they suck all the air out of the fucking room. There's no money for anybody else, and that goes on.
So then I guess my next question would probably be how you talked about in your last interview that it'll take a rebirth of energy and commitment and focus in a way that only theater can recalibrate. So how do you think theater is going to change after this?
We're gonna have some more pain. We're gonna suffer some more for a longer period of time. But that's it. When I talk to young people like you, it is patently clear to me that something new will be injected into the river, into the flow of the river. It's a mighty river,
It is.
and it could never be dammed up for long.
Mm.
I have every expectation. I wouldn't even say hope, because I know it to be true, that something wonderful will occur, and I couldn't begin to tell you what it is because it's going to be so out of the imagination and out of the spiritual realm of creativity, wherever creativity comes from. That's where it's going to come from. And it may not be New York. It may not be Broadway. It may be something else. It's some hybrid thing out in the heartland or something. I couldn't begin to tell you. I don't know. But I do know this. You guys hang in there and keep doing it, because it's needed, it's important, it's valuable, and you will be made wealthy by what I call karmic currency. It's not about making a whole lot of money, but you will be rewarded by someone coming up to you and saying, "Oh man, I saw you do that. I knew what it was that I needed." or what is it worth? How much is it worth to make someone laugh, or to make someone cry, or to make someone open their heart?
Fucking priceless, man.
How much is that worth?
That's what we do it for. That's what we're all here for.
I think there is going to be a massive catharsis at the end of all this. And it's clear that we've had so many impasses as it is. The artists that are coming up, they have. The Black queer artists in a strange loop. That is the wave. That is the wave that is going to
It's coming. It's coming. That's sure as I can say. My wife teaches at NYU and Columbia, and playwriting. And the senior projects this year, she said, were the best they've ever been. In the middle of the pandemic, people writing Zoom plays and all. I mean, it can't stop, because it is intrinsically human. The theater is intrinsically human. From the time that we could join together in a group or tribe around the fire, someone has had to get up and tell the story of how they, threw the spear and hit the antelope, and we all sat spellbound, waiting for the big moment. And that is in our DNA. We can't escape it. It's gonna be.
Amen, man. Thank you so much for coming on, Chuck. This was
Thank you.
such a rewarding conversation. Thank you, man.
Great.